what they have put in the resume and plugging it in.
Yeah,
I was holding
right.
back on the comment, Rangan. I mean, I was thinking futuristically, that maybe not, it cannot happen this time, but in the future, this requires more effort. So I'm somewhat hesitant putting it out there. But the ideal matching process will work where, like Rangan said, you have mentors describe their, keywords, or describe themselves. I put something in my profile, and many of the mentees quoted what I wrote in my profile, which is interesting because they read that. But having those keywords, but also having a way where, I don't know how many of you guys know, but in MBA programs, you kind of vote for what you need, right? So you have, like, say, 100 votes, or you pick first, second, and third choices. So you have people match with the first and the first, or you have 100 points given to the person requiring the mentee, and they put their points. And I want to give 100 points to Rangan. I just want him and him only, right? So you can have that mechanism where you can assign a better allocation of mentors versus mentee down the road.
Yeah, that's a valid point. And one of the things we want to do is have like a set of these keywords, so mentors, both mentors and mentees can choose from them. And
Yeah,
that
and
I
a
makes the
way for
mapping easy.
mentee to
uh,
also decide or indicate which one they want and how much they want, right?
Sure.
Yeah. So if we basically open up keywords, which we do for say risk assessments and other things, people various stakeholders come to a meeting for a risk man assessment, but some of them they haven't done their homework. So what happens is when you have keywords, you basically pushing them into action immediately. Think about it. And both mentees and mentors, we can say that let's say there are 50 or 30 keywords. Uh, Pick only 3 or 5 which you think are your primary characteristic, and pick 3 or 5 which are your secondary. Otherwise, everyone will tick everything, and the whole purpose will go for a 6. So that helps actually. In Then people can think really that what is my real important thing. Am I a good manager or am I a good leader? Am I a problem solver or am I a problem analyzer? Those kind of things, if the keywords are well done, like how we do in psychometrics, Rinal can probably help in that. I think we can come out with pretty intelligent options, and from that can be used for matching one on one.
Sure. So coming back to these group sessions, so there are some questions about like how big a group, uh, and then few other things. So maybe 5, at most 10. If you have more than 5, consider splitting into 2. Now, and the other thing is, each area might have multiple mentors. So, for example, research has folks who are in teaching in the academia, or just who just got their PhDs. So there could be multiple mentors in an area, and basically what we are saying is you can the mentors in an area can talk to each other to structure the group sessions. Um, and these, for a lack of better word, I call them pod. So pod is like one group, and we can, so if 10 students, let's say, requested a mentor, so we make 2 pods out of that. So the mentor here owns the pod, so they reach out to the mentees, sets up all the meetings, decides the agenda, gathers feedback, and we can add to this list, like Tibrival was saying, that if there are any one-on-ones required, then it's up to the mentor to set that up. The number of meetings, I think this is a short semester, maybe it's about 3 months or so. So maybe once every 2 weeks, so have about 5 or 6 meetings. And the topics should be area specific to be decided by the mentor. So any comments or feedback on this?
So just a quick question there,
Yeah.
Vanessa. I mean, so a couple of things actually. So again, maybe there's a precedence to this, and I don't know. Deciding agenda and activities, is there some templatized thing that one can leverage, or do you just come up with something on your own?
This would be for the group sessions. We're doing it for the first time. So, and that's the next slide that covers that.
Okay.
So this is something that you can come up with to structure the discussions. And I have an example next in the next
The
slide.
second question I had there was the time frame you mentioned is just for a semester. Like, what is it? This is the
Yeah,
one semester thing,
one
and you
semester.
do the whole thing again next semester.
Yeah,
Okay.
and the idea is that because there are always new students who want to get help, and there's a small number of mentors, we want to make sure maximum number of students benefit. And one semester is a good enough time to think and reflect.
Yeah, and I can imagine if a mentee wants to stay connected to a mentor, they can always stay. They don't have to.
They can do that. Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, that's always possible.
All right.
And the format of the session should be a question answer discussion kind of session, where the mentors ask some thoughtful questions, lead the topic, and let the mentees uh, get the feedback from mentees, share their own stories. I think learning activities is something that they can design, but there's something to keep in mind. So each mentee might be slightly different, although they are like aligned in terms of goals, but they might have slightly different learning methods and so on. But in all, it's a confidential, safe space. So when you're running this group, you should make sure that it's people open up and everyone gets a chance to speak.
I mean, that's the part I'm thinking about when I'm putting myself in my shoes. When I was there, it'll be hard for me to open up and talk freely about what I want to do, maybe in front of my batchmates, so to say, at that time. So just a thought. I mean,
Yeah.
in a setting, it might not be that comfortable.
Yeah. So, but keep in mind that these are people who have the same interests. So let's think about some people who are interested in civil services. So when they're coming together as a group, they already know that that's their goal. Then you can, as a mentor, you can lead with saying, okay, what's your preparation or what's your preparation? What courses are you doing? Or what is the right timing? What could be some roadblocks? So the mentor can ask these questions and help them structure their preparation.
If I may add something here. So I think another thing worth considering would be that the mentors can start off with a group session, set a basis for the entire whatever the common topic is, answer some of the common questions, and then they can also do follow-up shorter sessions, maybe 15-20 minutes with each of the students, just to assess what Sanjay was saying around if there are certain topics that they would not want to raise in front of their peers, maybe because they think it is silly or like they might be made fun of because of those things, they can do that safely with the mentor. And the mentor can probably decide going forward whether they want to continue with longer group sessions and shorter one-on-ones, or whether just group sessions work and no one really has a problem opening up in front of that particular peer group. I think keeping a flexible schedule that way, and the mentors being mindful of the thing that Sanjay was suggesting, can help the mentor decide the format of these sessions.
Yeah, I think at the end of the day, it's going to be on a per group. It has to be on the mentor or mentors have to decide on the fly how it's working out. If people are opening up, then great, we can continue with that. If the sense that there might be some need for one-on-one, maybe with one or two individuals they have, that it's going to be very dynamic in my view, at least. And we'll learn as we go through the process.
Yeah, and different groups might have different dynamics as well.
Exactly.
So yeah. Next, yeah. So these are, like I was saying, if I were to run something on research, so these were some of the topics that would be relevant for people who are thinking about a career in research, like why get a PhD? There's an upfront investment, so you have to make that very consciously, and so on. So there are other topics that are or discussion topics that are relevant to that path. Similarly, for getting prepared for AI, ML, and for others, entrepreneurship, civil services. So because these, and I would leave it open to the mentors to decide this list. There are a few special cases like EQ or resilience. These are more widely applicable topics, and Mrinal has and Partha has also expressed interest in running some seminars on these. So this could also be more of a bigger session, but yeah, open to more people.
So that's a interesting segue. And just from I can take a parallel from another organization I'm part of, IIT Startups,
Mm-hmm.
where we are mentoring and coaching, entrepreneurs who are starting companies. And the format over there is on a weekly basis. They're given homework and they present, whether it's go-to-market strategy, customer discovery strategy, and all that. They prepare and they present, and everybody hears and learns and listens and questions. And then there are individual coaching sessions during the week to help them prepare that template, fill that out. So similarly, you could have sessions over here where you could have an EQ session where it's applicable to everybody, and everybody's invited, and somebody could take the charge of preparing a presentation and talk through it. We could have a panel discussion, also bring in some people who are experts in that area to talk to or answer questions. And then, of course, there are the one-on-one mentorships as well, or group mentorships.
Yeah. So
what I'm saying is you could think of as trying to organize some broader panel discussion, group discussion, broader discussions with these broader topics, so to say EQ and all that.
yeah, I think Partha has more experience with these. So
Yeah, Kiran, can I just put in a few words here?
yeah.
If you just compare this slide with the previous one, I think you're spot on in the way you have categorized it. This with the previous slide, you have the previous slide which has a few more, it has more specifics. For example, entrepreneurship or a particular area, civil services. Now that's basically having it's an area of interest of certain segment of people, focus groups you can have. So it can be for those people. But when you come back to the next topic, which is EQ and resilience and mind fitness, this is for everyone. There's no one, unless someone's living, under the rock, will need that. So it should really be open to everyone. There's no point, I don't see any category of people who will say that EQ is needed only for civil services people or startup people or people who just want to, do their own service industry. So I agree that it should be, and they can be multiple. Like for example, there is a bit of diversity of application of mine versus Mrinal, and I think both should be there. Mrinal basically talks about one aspect of EQ, which is resilience, clarity, and mind fitness, which means she can go into detail, and she's a professional in that. And based in India, she can specialize her module, her presentation for Indian students. Mine is EQ, which is developed over the years from learnings as well as what we've seen in issues with the engineers. And there will be a whole set of people. This has been successful in Australia, so I would assume that if someone wants to go out of the country, or even in the country, there's so many people with limitations. Someone coming from a small town wants to go to a big town, and how to adjust to that. So it'll throw a different perspective. So I'm very happy having this multiple sessions. If there's someone else who can attribute has some preparation in this area, can also have a third thing happening. A third module of this happening. But each one of them at the end will become a panel discussion kind of a thing. It's basically it's like a presentation, like it's a presentation workshop. So I normally have activities within that workshop, and then it becomes almost like there's not a panel, separate panel, but everyone gets to participate in it. It's very interactive. So panel discussion is not exactly the suitable mode for EQ and mind fitness, because then you're basically talking about generic philosophical stuff. These are actually aimed at basically changing the mindset or helping people change their mindset. It needs a bit more, it's more intrusive, and it needs to be in a workshop mode.
Mhm. So yeah, so maybe we can get together, Partha, and then with Mrinal and plan this out.
Exactly.
So for the other sessions, does anyone else have feedback or thoughts? Other folks who we haven't heard from before?
I think I agree that we'll have to do specific topics for the other focus group. Another thing which I was thinking was like if I was running it, I would probably in the later session invite my friends for which are from the industry. So if I'm running
Oh, okay.
a group
Yeah.
from finance, I would invite my friends who are in different areas of finance to give perspective to people on what specific needs to be done if they want to go into that area, or even have a panel discussion if the group feels that that's more applicable. So depending on the feedback from the students, it's easy to customize it because given that I'm working in finance, I already know a lot of people from the industry.
That's right. And in fact, you can invite other mentors also.
Hmm.
So we'll form a group of mentors who are interested in finance. So um, I think, yeah, that's a cool idea.
Also, like if you invite the other alumni who are not part of the program, it acts as a selling point for the program, and they
Yeah,
might join as a mentor in future.
sure enough.
And Panisar, the other thing was at the end of every you know session, they could ask what people want to kind of look at in the next session, collection of
Okay.
ideas or requests, and then
Mhm.
kind of prioritize it and take it.
Yeah. So I think it's up to the mentor to shape it. So you can get feedback from the
So
student.
Rangan, what I normally do is I basically within a workshop in e-workshop, I run some polls. In one of the poll questions could be, what are the other topics you want to, focus on in the future. And also one more thing, in these kind of sessions, which are like EQ and resilience, the crowd, the target audience will be much bigger. So it's obviously, I think, better if it's moderated so that someone's keeping track of questions, because when you're, the facilitator will find it a struggle to manage, the training part of it as well as managing the questions, Q&A. So, and running the polls. So I think a moderator is very useful for that, for these kind of special cases.
Cool.
Hello,
Any other? Yeah,
Kiran.
go ahead.
Yeah, hi. I just joined the group really late, not just this session. Like I just got involved in the mentorship program really late, just a couple of days ago. So I just have like few basic doubts. Like if I may ask that here, like
Yeah.
on the uh, itramp.org, that group. So I will be approached by some mentees, or is it like they'll contact me offline given once they find a match with my interests, or
Yeah,
how
the
does that go?
process we are following for this batch is that the mentees fill out a form requesting a match with a mentor, and then we'll forward that to you.
Okay, so as of now, there has not been any selection, right?
Right,
Or any
because
match.
you just joined, and so I think we need to, what we need to do is get this round of matching completed, and then ask students to, if any of the students didn't get matched or simply didn't request in the first round, then we'll ask them to request mentors again.
Okay.
Samal, just make sure that you have filled in your profile.
Yes, I have done that.
Sure, cool.
Yeah.
So I don't have to initiate at this moment from my side anything.
Yeah, at this moment, no.
Okay.
Kiran
And
and
just as a topic, if I can add something here, I feel it's, let's say, financial literacy is something we should add. Like, I feel people passing out from college, although we are really educated, but not many of, even when I was back there, we were not financially literate. I think we can also inculcate
Oh.
that
I think that's a powerful topic which should be this, in this list of EQ and resilience. Uh, Financial literacy and financial, fitness basically is, I think, something worth having it for everyone.
Mhm.
Maybe we can identify some topics which we mark as group topics and like do group sessions there, but at the same time continue the one-on-one type of thing.
Yeah, so I think let's for this batch, let's try this experiment, see how it goes. And certainly we can expand the list of topics.
Kiran and Karan, just a request. Can we tell the mentees who haven't been matched and who have blank profiles a message to them that how do you expect to be matched if you don't have the time or the seriousness to fill in your profile? And what
Yeah,
is the basis except for your name and gender and your discipline? They should be bottom of the list. And if they want to come up the list, they have to at least take the time and the commitment to fill in their profile.
Yeah, I mean, I think they are already at the bottom of the list. A lot of mentors have not gone for those mentees, and a lot of these mentees have not sent a request as well, which is kind of what we were trying to achieve with this entire profile filling thing. That people who are not serious about the entire program should drop out at that stage rather than after they are matched with some mentor and the relationship not working out. So yeah, but we can probably send it as a like collectively as a retrospective to them that yeah, you were unfortunately not matched and these are probably the reasons and you could look into it.
yeah. So Karan, I think what we can do is set up these pods and in the sheet itself next. Do you think that should be the next step?
I can make a separate list of pods where a lot of students had requested mentorship from the same mentor, and we can probably try to analyze the kind of interest areas that they have, and we can form broad pods, see like break them down if they are too big, and see how that goes forward.
Yeah, I think let's do that. And then one thing we
Do we
can
want this to, sorry, do we want this to override the one-on-ones that the mentors have selected?
no,
Or,
let's keep the one-on-ones.
okay, yeah.
So one thing then, yeah, then we should look at the stats on how many mentees are unmatched and how many mentors are unmatched, and then we can maybe make some manual tweaks like was suggested earlier.
Yeah, and another thing that I was thinking was if a mentor has certain specific skills and there is another mentor who has taken on 5 or 6 mentees, could we request that mentor to let go of a mentee for the other mentor who has not been matched yet? I think that would be beneficial for both all the 3 parties involved.
Mm-hmm.
And I think
Yeah,
the mentors would be understandable. They won't try to hold on to their mentees or something like that. I don't
yeah.
know.
Yeah, I think we should do that. We should do that soon before we
Yeah.
start contacting the mentees, right?
Yeah, I
Yeah.
think we should do it this weekend so that we can send out these emails.
I think some of the mentors have started reaching out to the mentees. So I think a general mail to the mentors saying that what the next steps are and what we are evaluating might be
Mhm.
helpful.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So
on the same lines, like do mentors need to reach out to mentee or like how the process work once you have finalized?
Okay, I can take this one. So basically, once we have finalized this, there'll be a mail sent out to the mentee and the mentor with the next steps. So it's the mentors who are finalizing it in that sheet, and we'll be sending out a common mail to both of these parties with general guidance on how to proceed, what are the number of scheduled meetings they should be having over the session, etc. And that is something we were holding on to discuss what we are discussing today, which is what do we do with this entire spike and the group mentoring thing. But I
Yeah.
think that should happen soon enough.
Just a quick thought. Maybe you already have that in consideration in that email that you send out. The thought that's coming to my mind is that we should not be overly prescriptive in terms of how many meetings, and maybe that's useful. I don't know. But it's more. I would think it'd be more dependent on the group, the mentee, and the mentor how they want to move forward. So.
Sure. Yeah. Those are general guidelines, I think. But yeah, it's entirely up to the mentor and mentee to structure this.
Yeah, because a lot of mentors on the platform are not very experienced mentors. So general guidelines help them, of course. For the more experienced mentors, they can figure out things better by themselves. These are general guidelines on how to proceed for people who probably find it new to them.
Cool. Any other comments from other folks? Cool. If nothing else, then we'll follow up with these next steps. So I'll send out email with what we are planning, and then we'll try to complete the matches, as many matches as possible this weekend.
Kiran, it's of course down the line, but I can give you a feedback about the feedback process. I know that we encourage everyone to give their feedback, both mentors and mentees, and we say that you can keep it anonymous. But can we give the option for mentors and mentees, especially, that if they choose it to be not anonymous, then they can do so, so
Oh,
that
yeah.
mentors especially can get feedback. Because as a mentor, I know my mentee did give a feedback, she told me, but it's important for me to see that feedback, and I encouraged her that to give
Oh,
feedback where, and it's important for us, for our own development too, to find out that in spite of our best efforts, what they see as a gap, that's very important for us, not just to hear how good we are, but also to know what areas we need to develop on.
Yeah, and something that I'm not familiar with, and maybe you can shed some light. At the end of the process, do you? So I second what Partha is saying. It'd be good to see feedback where they're comfortable, but I'm assuming do they do some scoring so you at least get to see some average overall score or something? Do you have any sort of feedback that you can at least see where you might get better at from a self-evaluation perspective?
so we collected feedback about the program, like did it meet their needs and what could be improved. So we have those stats. What Partha is suggesting is specific feedback about the mentor that we didn't collect. So
Okay. I mean, I just as a parallel again to what I'm doing in IT startups, they have coaches and mentors over there also for the entrepreneurs. And what we are trying to do is come up with before we start, we try to come up with some evaluation criteria as to what your goals are, what you want to achieve. And then over the course of the program, evaluate that and kind of talk about that. Are we making progress? Are we not making progress in the direction you want to go? What help you need? So it's not a surprise in 3 or 4 months' time, oh, I didn't get anything I was looking for. Right? So again, it's a very mentor-specific process, but there might be some opportunity for formalizing that a little bit more, where you start with, okay, what are the things you want to get help on, formalize that to a certain extent, and then kind of discuss that on an ongoing basis.
yeah, so as one of the guidelines, as part of the guidelines, is the first meeting is to decide to talk about this, to set some goals for the mentoring.
The place where I'm coming from is, of course, I mean, it's quite a bit, where you live and the culture in that area. Like I'm in Australia, here the culture is that they literally force you to seek feedback and give and receive feedback. In fact, that's most of the companies, they have their KPIs that you have to have, say, 20 feedbacks given and taken. Otherwise, that goes negative. What that does is it gives us an opportunity to learn, that how the opposite side of the world is looking, perceiving us as. And if we really care, and I'm sure we really care for our mentees, then we really need to know how they perceive us, and so that we can improve ourselves to get better for the next batch. So it's a very tough thing to do, but I think in the long run, I've seen that it has really helped me at least get better at what I am. Without those feedbacks, I would be just living in my delusive world, thinking I might be doing the right thing. But as like Himlata said, that it might be that because I'm, 30 years older than the mentee, they're too scared or too intimidated by the process, and maybe the feedback could be that I was too scared to ask questions, and then it might tell me that, okay, I need to get more friendly, or at least the perception of, I need to come down, bridge that gap, the generational gap. But without that feedback, I'll think, I'm doing fine.
Right. Cool.
Kiran, how do we cater to some students who are not yet clear? Like, there are many students who don't have clarity on what they do.
Yeah, so
And
that generally that's a good question. So many students say I don't know what I need to do, and I just want to interact with an alumni. And so many alumni have said they would, of course, all of us can give general mentoring, and so it's up to the students to reach out to the mentor they think would help them the most. And part of that help could be that just considering different alternatives or paths that they have.
Okay.
So that's more one-on-one. Okay. All right, then everyone have a good weekend. See you. Thanks.
Thank you, Professor.
Thanks, Kiran.
Everyone.
Thanks.
Thanks, Kiran.
Bye, guys.
Bye.